Welcome to minimalList. We are Joe, Michael and Springer Spaniel George, and we've been continuously cruising on our narrowboat Perseverance since 2017. Perseverance turns out to be a very appropriate name for our boat, as over the last 4 years we've been on a quest to go absolutely everywhere on the connected waterways of England and Wales, which also led me to create some tube-style maps of the waterway system which we sell online. It's now time to give Perseverance some very overdue TLC and tackle all of the jobs that we've been planning and putting off since we moved aboard 4 years ago.
We spent the last week clearing out the boat, getting rid of stuff that we've accumulated over the 4 years.
So much stuff.
Not as minimalist as we say we are. That feels really good. And we've also been lent the use of a narrowboat. So we've moved some of the stuff onto that narrowboat, which is moored next to our narrowboat. And we can also stay on there when our boat becomes
Discombobulated.
uninhabitable.
Which it hasn't done yet. For the most part, we've literally just been cleaning and finding things that George had hidden in nooks and crannies. But yeah, today's the start of one job, although it hopefully isn't that big and won't actually take us out. But when we get to the bathroom especially, we will be in places where we need to use facilities on the other boat.
So the owner of said narrowboat that is being lent to us very kindly is also helping us out with the renovations, and he has also got a workshop that we have access to, which is so helpful.
Yeah.
So the first job is to kind of fix the bed. The issue we've got with our bed is the same that's on many narrowboats, the same issue that's on many narrowboats. Underneath the mattress, between the mattress and the board, it gets damp, like moisture gathers.
Yeah.
We've had some mesh, I've forgotten what it's called, but a lot of people use it just to create some airflow. But still underneath there, the MDF boards have taken on moisture and they've bowed a bit.
Yeah. The mesh helped quite a bit. We also drilled some holes in the MDF.
To increase airflow through up to the mesh.
Yeah, it's MDF. So where the holes are, which I neglected to seal, and it's MDF, so you can't really seal it very well. It has slowly but surely taken on a little bit of moisture, and the whole plate has started to sag.
Which is not so comfy for a bed. So we're going to replace those boards with something stronger, less vulnerable, and complicated by the fact that our bed pulls out by 6 inches.
Yeah.
To give you a bit more room when you're sleeping and a bit more corridor when you're not sleeping. So that's part of the kind of replace like for like that we want to do.
So we're going to replace it with, basically it's buffalo board, so it's like phenolic coated plywood. What it's going to mean is cutting, some shapes out of that and cutting a few pieces to remake the mechanism, I guess you'd say, for the slide out, so that we've got kind of all of the MDF places replaced with the buffalo board. And then we're also going to try and attach the original oak that was used to create the handle, but trim it down a bit. And you
say handle, but it runs the whole length of the bed, and over time of pulling, it was just screwed in at the bottom, so it just
sagged. Yeah, we're going to try and make a better version of that.
So that's the plan for today. Job 1 on this multi-job narrowboat renovation.
So mattress coming off.
Renovations are hard enough in a house, but when you live on a narrowboat, there's the added complication of having such a limited amount of space. So yeah, this is the... Oh, it's got an echo in here. This is the mesh that they use. It's quite thick, but in places there's a little bit of mould. But the fact that there's mould there has definitely saved us getting mould on the mattress, because underneath the mattress there's no mould. So this definitely works. So these are the boards. This is the original colour. They feel a bit damp today. And here you can see the change in colour where they are damp. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but they definitely bow in the middle. Yeah, this one in particular is got damp. And they came with these original holes that I guess were handles to help you lift them out. We drilled these extra holes to increase the airflow, and we put vents underneath the bed to get air in. But yeah.
What we didn't do is the original one was beveled down and then sealed. We didn't seal ours. However, there's not like a lot of moisture damage in here and everything. So I think it's not so much the holes that cause the problem as just the fact that they're old and the weight has started to shift them.
Yes, you can see moisture here today just after one night because we had it up yesterday. And then I'll just show you the mechanism.
Well, let me get...
So there's a little bit of wood that fits on top, and then...
This is the part that's the problem.
Yeah.
These have to come off first.
Yeah. Beautiful battery setup down there.
So now this piece can go up this way. And it's going to be the fun part because we've got the curve on that side.
Yeah.
And there's a notch in the wall there, so we can't get any higher, or we're going to have to carve out that notch.
Yeah, so if anything, it needs to be slightly smaller than this piece.
Yeah.
And then this is the fourth piece that sits slightly lower down, and then it just slides out with this mechanism here. And it's not the easiest thing to...
No, well, it has swollen.
Right, so
now
it gets stuck too.
It's stuck, and
you have to kind of push both ends at the same time.
so it should be a little bit smaller. And the oak was just held on here with a couple of screws.
So that
they started to bend, and you can see where they pulled out over here, and so that needs to be reinforced and replaced. And it should really be shorter. Like basically, we've got a handle that's that big to make it so that the bed turns into one kind of continuous piece of oak. Yeah. But it's too tall.
Andrew has picked us up and driven us to his workshop with the old MDF boards, as we're going to use them as templates to create the replacement bed boards. Step 1 is to shorten the upright. It's actually oak-faced MDF. Andrew cuts it down for us on the table saw, so as well as helping us out with the use of his boat and workshop, we're getting some great advice, and now his labour too.
I was looking for a way earlier of demonstrating just how bad the water damage is, but all this time I've been holding the boards on the same side, so they're both with their tops in the same direction. Finally, I realized that you really understand it when you put them together at the center. Like just how much these things have bowed out is just plain ridiculous.
So we've laid out the original pieces onto the board that we're going to be using, and you can see just how much they've bowed. Just waffle it.
The buffalo board you got, is that one that came from the A4?
It is terrible. Everything else is free, but that
So we can cut this one out of square and take it off the board. So we square up that end, and we can cut the board to length first, because we've got more than enough, and then trim it to size.
Next, we mark up the sheet of buffalo board using the old MDF boards as templates. That's easier said than done, as they're so warped and they don't seem to have any square edges at all. After checking and triple checking the measurements, Andrew starts to make the cuts using his track saw.
Yeah, that's straight. That should work this one. And now we got another one. So we clamped down the jig. We're going to basically do these outside holes, and then we're going to use the jig to sort of recreate it, Swiss cheesing it on its way over that way. And then that's probably enough holes, but if we want to, we can add a couple in the center and stuff as well. So. And it should be pretty clamps off, dogs in, move it.
That's it.
All right.
Rinse and repeat.
and then everything's squared up for the next one. Yeah.
The holes are being cut with a heavy-duty router and a plunge cut bit that works with the MFT template we're using.
The question is, do we want more?
Doesn't seem many, does it? What do you think?
I think we could do some more. If I got the template right, we can do 2 here and 2 here and 2 here.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would weaken it or anything.
Once we're happy with the number of ventilation holes, Michael uses a handheld router and a 45-degree edging bit to bevel the edges off. The holes are probably also going to be used as handles to lift the boards in and out, so it's nice to have them smoothed off a bit. The side of the board also gets edged this way. The longest board has a curve at one corner. To cut this, the new wood is laid on top of the old MDF board and they're clamped together. The heavy-duty router is then used with a flush trim bit and the old MDF board acts as a template to give us the perfect curve. And then of course it's time to do the holes and edging on this one. It's basically rinse and repeat on each panel. The fourth board is a little different though, as grooves need to be cut for the sliding mechanism. After Michael cuts the board to size, Andrew uses the heavy-duty router with the flush trim bit to cut the sliding grooves. The old MDF board is acting as a template again. Because the router leaves the end of the grooves round, a jigsaw is used to square them off.
Oh yeah, that'll be perfect.
We paint a wood sealer onto the cut edges of the board. Hopefully this will help limit the amount of moisture that's able to penetrate the wood. The oak face panel can then be screwed onto the sliding board.
And go on that section. So I'd say 2 brackets in here is going to be plenty in terms of holding strength.
Back on the boat, and there's some pieces of trim that need to be cut down slightly to allow the new, slightly thicker bedboards to slide underneath.
That one's not quite tall enough. That one just dropped right in. Holy crap, that's better. I mean, yeah. Right. So, what we discovered overnight was that this upright is just, well, it was designed for a bed that was using a regular type of mattress so that the sides stayed relatively straight when you were on the mattress. We've got a big memory foam mattress. When you lie on the memory foam mattress, especially me, being a little bit heavier, overnight the mattress sort of deforms outwards and it pushes pressure this way. It also happens whenever I roll over or roll off the bed. And so when we originally got the boat, it had this on with just a couple of nails in it. And after I think maybe less than a week, it had popped off because of the nails getting bent out. We then put it back on, screwed it on, and 3 different times in a row, we kind of it would last a month or so. It would last another couple of months. Eventually, we just decided to take it off and leave it off, which means we've had this unfinished edge of the bed the entire time. And now that we've done the new piece to make a better version and make it more supported, thought, okay, put the upright back on. We put some brackets in to make it real strong. And what happened was we got there and it, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of some creaking as the screws were being pressed back and forth because I'm putting too much pressure on there. So what we're going to do now is take this unit off and then cut a piece of oak. It's just going to be a thinner rail. And all it needs to do is there's an insert. When we pull this out to use it, there's an insert that goes right here that maintains the height for the mattress to be on and keeps it as the same height as the rest of the bed. And all this thing really needs to do is keep the insert from sliding off and landing on the floor. So by having something that's considerably shorter, hopefully it won't have the same sort of stresses applied to it. Because really, I think the problem is this end up where where my shoulder is and my mass is there, it just starts pushing it out. And because that's the end where the nails came out the first time, that's the end where the screws broke the second time, and that's where the screws went the third time as well, and where the chipboard or the MDF that we used to have had actually split. And I don't want to do that again to our nice new piece. I'd rather try and save it. And the finish has been scratched up anyway. It no longer matches. It doesn't really matter if there's something there that's just, you know, kind of acting as a handle and a reinforcement, and that's it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to cut all of the air holes. In yesterday's work, the other day's work, we put air holes into the piece that's going on top of this. We just want them to be able to mate up. So we went and we marked them today. And now we're going to cut them out again a little bit larger so that when the bed is in, and you know, if we're not using it, we push it all the way in, air will still be able to get through from under the mattress. And when we pull it out and we're using it, air will still be able to get through. So now I've got to disassemble this, and then we've got to cut that to length and get the holes put in place to actually screw it in. So that's what we're doing. Let's get that in there. Just a tiny bit. So how do I get the laser? Just tilt it down. Okay. Yeah, so we've got this issue of when we put the beveled piece in before, which mates with the bevel on the bed itself, it was just a hair too low, meaning that they didn't quite mate properly. They were too tight together. So we want to give it just a tiny bit of a gap. So we really just want to make it so that these are slightly offset. And then we can take the original screw holes that we drilled and drill them through so that we've got pilot holes through the oak. And that we were in a position to just reattach everything. Yeah, so I think we're good. I think I went quite far enough.
Okay, what's happened there is it's walked into the wood and not pulled itself into the back.
As the holes on the sliding panel had to be marked up to line up with the board that sits above them, we drilled them using a spade bit. Unfortunately, this method caused the surface of the wood to split a little, so in hindsight we should have used the router again.
And then the last job is to make the infill plank, and for this we're using ply.
Goes in all the way, so that's good. There's that corner. Okay, and the holes line up.
It's been a week or so since we got the bed made. We did have a couple of nights sleeping on it, but we've since moved across to the other boat. And all in all, it worked really well.
It did, yeah.
And it's good to have actually one thing on the boat finished, or pretty much finished.
Somewhat finished,
even
yeah.
though we're not using it.
I would, well, yeah, there's a few parts I'd remake if I had time, and there's one part that needs varnishing before it really goes into everyday use, but it's functional. It provides a nice stable platform. It's much harder than the one that we put in before, so the bed's not, you know, sort of drooping down in any location. The buffalo board doesn't look amazing, but it gets the job done, and it's very waterproof.
You don't see it anyway.
Yeah, you never see it anyway, so
yeah, so one job done, and now on to the many other jobs.
Yeah, good fun. So thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell if you want to get notifications.